In general, the staple foods, rice included, but also wheat, maize, and other grains, have seen a very significant increase of price in recent years. Basically, this is rising world demand pushing against limited supplies, and there's more pressure like that to come. The world's getting richer in income levels, especially with Asia's growth. The world's becoming more populous, reaching 7 billion in 2011, and a little more than a decade later, we'll reach 8 billion according to the UN medium forecast. Now it could be more than 10 billion by the end of this century. All of this means this challenge is becoming more and more serious. While there still is some productivity growth, it's much slower than it was in the past. The big gains of the Green Revolution have already been achieved. The ecological costs of the first Green Revolution are becoming greater and greater. For instance, the dropping water tables in places like northern China and in India, where bore wells were used to irrigate Green Revolution crops. So we need a second Green Revolution, one that is also ecologically green as well as yield green.
How do you see the importance of investment into agriculture more? How can we do that down the road?
We have a huge unmet challenge. We have to invest more in agriculture to get more per unit land area of using existing technologies better, and we have to invest more in research and development to find better ways to grow the food that give good yield but also resilience. And then there's one more piece of this puzzle, and it's a daunting puzzle. We are already in the era of climate change. Sometimes we talk about climate change as hypothetical or for the future. Well, climate change is real, it's not hypothetical, and it's not only in the future, it's in the present. There's more climate instability, there are more hazards like drought and like floods that are undermining the food supply now, not just in the future, and there's more to come.
Yeah, but are we facing a doomsday scenario? I mean, what solutions are there? I mean, how do we get it all together? And especially the political will, who should lead this?
Asia needs to take the lead. Asia says, us? Why should we take the lead? We're still following, we're still catching up. But the fact of the matter is Asia is more than half the world's population. Asia is incredibly vulnerable to climate change. So no Chinese leader or Indian leader or Indonesian leader could say, what difference? Because these are the most crowded countries of the world. They're environmentally vulnerable. They will suffer droughts, they will suffer water stress, they will suffer massive pollution, they will suffer extreme events of massive typhoons and so forth, and they know it. So Asia's going to have to take the lead. Asian leaders say, you know, it's not fair. The U.S. Is, in per person terms, way ahead of us in environmental destruction. And fairness, they're absolutely right about that. The United States needs to do more. But we have to understand that you can't use that as an excuse, because in the end, if we go over the cliff and everyone says, yeah, whoa, we're collapsing, but they should have done more, that's not going to be an answer either.
These rising food prices that we are seeing, I mean, everybody talks about it. In a nutshell, how would you say, what impact does it have on the lives of so many people?
The rising food prices are a huge threat, of course, because some of the world's poorest people are food deficit households, meaning they, even if they're farmers, they're actually buying food part of the year to make up their needs. We have to help smallholder farmers become food surplus households. Then these rising food prices work for them rather than against them. So one has to take a holistic view of things. If we don't have a holistic view that links energy, food, and poverty alleviation, as well as protection of habitat, we're not going to make it.
I wanted to ask you finally about the uprising that we are seeing in the Arab world and the instability going on. Is that at all linked, you think, to the global food crisis?
Now, when you look at Egypt and Tunisia and some of the other countries, the first thing you see is dictators that overstayed their welcome because they've been there for decades. That's the first thing to say. But it's also true that high food prices this year for food importing countries like Egypt, the largest single wheat importer in the world, Egypt, was certainly part of the tinder which led to a lot of this unrest. Though Egypt, through its social policies, kept some bread prices down, other pasta prices and wheat-based products definitely saw rising prices, rising tensions, rising social insecurity and social instability. This is a phenomenon that is going to rile the world unless we get ahead of it. And for those who believe that military approaches, whether in Libya or Afghanistan or Iraq or a not-so-secret war in Yemen, somehow can solve this problem, they're making a serious mistake. All the war in the world is only going to exacerbate this hunger crisis, of course. What we need is farmers that in a stable environment can plant high-yield crops and get the support that they need to earn their livelihoods and help feed their populations. We need a different approach. Peace will come through sustainable development. And this is absolutely the most vital realization that we need to make in the world.